Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I am your tube citizen, Jay Voodoo Child, and today we have a special recording. About 19 hours ago, a letter from the chairman has been released on the RSI website. And today I'm working without a script. I don't even have some bullet points to jot down thoughts and make things coherent for you all. So please excuse me on that. It's kind of daunting that this is going to be out on YouTube soon and, kept around for many years. So I'm kind of nervous about that. But this letter in particular really kind of opened my eyes to something that I had not really considered before this point. And I wanted to really address that for you all, a personal discovery for me, and open that for a discussion with you all. And kind of review all those points. But I'm in the midst of trying to put together my very first production video for Star Citizen and on my PC. And that's taken a lot more work than I anticipated, but I'm still trying to make that and hit my original deadline. So today's comments are just kind of all stream of conscious types of stuff. But anyway, previously, I was not, when I originally pledged back in 2017, I had really no concept that this game was so far away from launching. Back then, everything was kind of marketed as just around the kind of corner. A year, maybe 2 years. And at that point, it had been 5 years in production. So, 1 or 2 more years before launch didn't seem unreasonable for the time. And then kind of immediately, the original launch of the PU got delayed for nearly an entire year. And that really opened my eyes that this game was nowhere near completion and it would take a long time to do so. And for all the reasons why people thought, we're accusing Chris Roberts and his mismanagement or his grandiose ideas, the feature creep, all the criticisms that were laid kind of in the middle of or early goings of our development for Star Citizen. And so about every 6 months or whatever, I would put Star Citizen on the shelf. And like I said, every 6 months or so, I would kind of pop my head in and kind of see what new releases are, what new is happening in Star Citizen with the official videos or from content creators. And just kind of peeked over the horizon and said, okay, what's going on? Well, nothing new. All right, go back to another 6-month hibernation or what have you. And I don't know, about a year and a half ago, I popped my head up and I was introduced to the kind of the cross chassis upgrade mini game. And I kind of came to a decision that this game wasn't being released anytime soon. And that, the game really didn't need any support or any new money from me. But I'd kind of figured out that I'd spent about $200 a year when I was playing World of Warcraft for about 2, maybe 3 years. And I figured that was a reasonable budget to have for Star Citizen. And while I was waiting around for it to launch, I would figure I would use my money to save myself in-game time to not grind to get to better ships that I might be interested in that particular gameplay. So I started putting more money into the game, and, I upgraded to the MSR, and I, got my hands on the Endeavor. But really to start building the chains, not go directly to the ships. Even though originally I did go for the Star Runner. But I melted that and started using the credits to buy up unreleased ships that I knew would increase in price by at least 15% on when it went flight ready. And then also to get those last CCU links to ships that I was thinking about getting. And so I had, a couple of ships in mind that I've gone. That list has expanded and has shrunk in that last year and a half. But anyway, I became invested in the CCU minigame and started playing that full time and was paying attention to that. And one of the things that I discovered in the early going was that no one was talking about, starting your CCU chains with starter packs. And everything was LTI, LTI, LTI. And I would make my pitch on various platforms that, additional digital downloads was the way to go. Did present greater in-game time savings after launch than LTI and not paying those monthly premiums. And that was even before figuring out that you can extend insurance out to 10 years very easily. So, how much of a lifetime that is, how many players are not going to be playing Star Citizen 10 years after launch. So does it really make a difference whether it's 10 years or lifetime? It's still their complete experience with Star Citizen. Anyway, so I started YouTube, my channel, nearly a year ago, almost exactly a year ago. And I first started playing off in a game called Rail Nation. I was trying to do some things in that game. Those fell through, and so I stopped playing that and decided to upgrade my equipment a little bit, do a first level upgrade and start recording off the PC. And I figured I would concentrate on Star Citizen going forward. And so a couple months ago, I started creating shorts. The first couple ones, actually the first several ones, are still made from my iPod because that was the only means that I could record at that time because I wasn't able to get UPS or US, OBS, excuse me, up and running, functioning for me on my PC. So I wasn't doing anything from my PC. I was doing something exclusively from my iPad. Rail Nation was great because it was a browser-based game, or I could do it. It's an app game that I could play on iPad, and so therefore record. So, but anyway, all that's in the past now, and I'm set up to record Star Citizen. And I was thinking about actually beginning my actual play with Star Citizen in the PTU. I went out and got myself an SSD card, and I got that installed. And unfortunately, my PC performance is still not what I will want for playing the game effectively, with decent frames and all that good stuff. And my original intention, kind of all along, is to wait until Squadron 42 releases and to kind of build a new PC that was on the higher end, not top of the line, but, one or two steps below, that would run Squadron 42 very well. And then at that time, I would begin playing the alpha or maybe even beta at that point of Star Citizen and have a rig that was powerful enough to run the games and run them effectively. And then use whatever time in between the release of Squadron 42 and the release of Star Citizen to really train myself in how to play that game and to develop my skills for there, because my gaming experiences are more about turn-based strategy games and not live action, first-person shooters. I don't know anything about, and so not that I'm particularly interested in that gameplay. I know it will be a part of my Star Citizen experience, and so not only is flying, the various ships around, but also combat and just dealing with all the aspects that I will be experiencing in this game. And this game is very much out of my wheelhouse, but I'm fascinated in it, and even with the growing aspect that it is more PvP based, which kind of frightens me. The more the realization that is the game that I've invested so much on. I'm already concierge, but that's just the reality of it. And if I am going to get value out of the money and time I've spent in this game, then I need to develop those skills. So I was thinking, post Squadron 42 until launch, I can develop those skills and be reasonable by the time it launches and by the time it quote unquote matters. And that was my theory. And the realization is that, particularly from this letter, but I mean, I've realized this before, but it really cemented with this letter. And I'll kind of scroll down here to that aspect. Excuse me here while I try and find. But they are anticipating that, excuse me here. All right. I think I've already skipped over it. That they do not intend to have Pyro and Pez until the fourth quarter of next year. And, something that bothered me about the CitizenCon of 2022 is all their platforms were labeled as the road to 4.0. And, that's fine because, we've always been on the road to 4.0. It doesn't, really matter how long we are on that road. I mean, we're on the road for 5.0, 6.0, whatever. But I just thought it was a mistake to start hyping up Pyro so much when it wasn't around the corner for being released. And that seems to be a consistent problem with CIG. And, I get that development is slow, and I know nothing about, the nuts and bolts of what they're working with. And, certainly I understand that the sheer scope of what they're trying to do is massive and has never been attempted on this scale. And that is the goal. And so it is going to take an extraordinary long time with a lot of people that they may or may not have the capacity of right now to build. And that, certainly in the beginning when they had, less than 20 employees, the game that they want to make now couldn't be accomplished in just a couple years like I originally anticipated. So yeah, I get all that. And my major concern with the length that it is taking to develop is that my understanding of how much technology has grown in my lifetime. I'm 52 years old right now. I'm a part of that first generation of having computers in the home. And in fact, my father was a programmer, so I was really like 5 years ahead of that being normal for most kids. And I've seen just every increment of PC growth over these years. And 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, technology changes significantly. And so, how outdated will the technology that Star Citizen is built on be by the time it launches? And how much lifespan will it have, kind of trying to keep up with the market and whatever new comes down the pipeline? And, right now we're dealing with cutting edge technology that CIG is making. And I greatly appreciate that. I want that. I anticipate the greatest space sim ever created. But how long will it have that title with it taking so long to develop, and someone who can kind of piggyback off of the things that CRG are doing to make a bigger and better bread box? And just already how much work, how much development has been thrown out because they found out down the road that that level of technology, or whatever direction that they were going into, just would not get them to the end goal. So they would have to abandon it to start something brand new. And all that takes time. But, I worry about just how much time has been lost going in that direction and then resetting and going to someplace else. And then the next technology bump comes along, and maybe that second, third attempt is now obsolete. So how far back do they have to go to recreate what they're doing in order to use the latest technology, which will be soon industry standard? So I've had my concerns with that. And with them saying that Pyro and Pez will not be available until likely fourth quarter 2023. And, whenever I hear that from Star Citizen, okay, I think there's no way that that's going to happen. So it's going to be pushed back 1-2 quarters, maybe even more from that. How long have we been hearing about Pyro? How long have we been thinking it's around the corner? Well, now it's a year away, at least. And, they started hyping it up at CitizenCon this year. I don't get that. But this isn't my company. And, certainly I'm not the decision making there. No one really cares about my opinion on, what should or should not be done at the company level. And so, all I can do is sit here and comment and vote with my wallet, essentially. I was reading a comment to a YouTube post that I made on someone else's channel, and they were very anti-CIG and just saying, not that it's a scam, but that the game is not really being built, that they're just kind of leading breadcrumbs out there for them just to generate more and more money, and that it's a never-ending cycle, and at some point, will be cashed in and just left to die there and say, well, thanks for, the billions of dollars. We're going to go live the rest of our lives. I don't think that that's happening, but, certainly enough of CIG's actions can certainly lead people to believe in that. And that's unfortunate. But again, that's not how I see things. I'm very impressed with the progress that they have made and, the functionality of what they do. There's a lot of problems. There's a lot of holes, certainly. But I feel that those are being addressed and will eventually be filled. And, that we will have a launch date and it will be an amazing, comprehensive game. I have no idea how long that's going to take. And like I said, I worry about the technology level of what they're building now, how long that's going to last after launch. But, just the delay. And, I'll go back to IAE from 2021. and the Straight to Flyable release of the Raft. Now, earlier in 2021, they had stated, some official person, I forget whom, stated that they were going to try and not release ships that did not have functionality in the game. And then almost immediately, they released the Raft, which is a cargo vessel at its core, but its main specialty is the fast load and unload of just going by and like the crane helicopter just quickly picking up a big box and then hauling it off to someplace else and then dropping that off with no time at all. And, picking up a new box and heading on. That was its standout feature to set it apart from other cargo haulers in its price range or it's in its capacity. It was, you were making this special ship that can handle what we hope to be releasing really soon or already have in place as was kind of committed to, but yet it didn't happen. And I get, the Raft has to be scheduled to be released at IAE. They need to have something to push out on their big sales event to continue the monetization, the pledging, the further development, all the funds for that. I get all that financial reasons for why we needed the Raft at that particular IAE. It's just the technology wasn't right behind it or already in place as they kind of hinted that they would see to it. And it's now a year later and that stuff is still not in the game. The Raft is just a rather expensive cargo vessel against its competitors in today's environment. And how much hype was put into it when it was released. Like, this is going to be the next greatest thing because you got this fast load and unload. And people bought into it. And a year later, it's still not there. And so, how many of those are going to get melted? And does that really matter to CIG because they've already got the money from the sales? Those kind of practices bother me. And I'm not even sure whether the Raft is going to be functional when in 3.18 and, at whatever point, because I know that ship tractor beams are not going to be in 18.0, 18.2, 3, maybe. So maybe at the end of the year, 2 years later, the Raft will be functioning as it should have been at release. That scares me. But it is what it is. And, as I've said, I'm comfortable with continuing to pledge money, put new money into the game in order to develop kind of my fleet and to try and reduce the grind time to earn ships that interest me after launch. And, recently I kind of decided I would go for a BMM. And that's something that when I initially pledged was just so far out of my reach because I couldn't imagine myself spending, even at that point, $250 or whatever it was originally when I first saw it. And to have a crew of 8 people, even though I had the 2013, multiple game packages document, putting together 8 different $45 pledges was just way out of my budget and price range for what I wanted to spend in the game. I mean, before then, I think I maybe have spent $110 on a collectible version of a game. Certainly not the $1,000 that I have into the game itself. And that's even before I go into building the new computer for the game. So when I first started my budget, my expectations for what I would invest in this game have completely been blown out of the water, and that's fine. Like I said, I've gotten my budget. I'm comfortable with that as far as my financials and all that stuff. And certainly the time sink element. I'm a gamer. This is what I do. It's what I've been my entire life. And this is what I enjoy and how I feel fulfilled in my life. And so the time factor of this game doesn't concern me at all. But with the RAF, 2 years to get it really special, that's concerning. But I guess the major thing that I got from this letter is, again, another record-breaking year of growth. And they're talking about the monthly active users, the number of people online at the same time. Here we go. Unique players in the year, new accounts. And they're talking about their free flights and how 70% of them stayed around. All that's great. And I appreciate the growth and the continued backing for this game. But for me, what I got out of this letter is Chris Roberts treats Star Citizen, the PU, as an active game now, and is not trying to hit a target date anymore. The new patches, the new features that are coming into the game are just kind of expansions to him at this point. Star Citizen is a game right now for Chris Roberts. And it's not an alpha. It's an actual released game. And that changes a lot of things for me. I think he's perfectly fine with what the game is now, how many people are using it, how much money is coming in from that usage in order to do the next expansion. And so I don't consider these patches anymore. They're just expansions to me. And that's a new concept to me. And so, maybe I need to start getting my fun value, my entertainment value per hour or per dollar started now instead of waiting for Squadron 42's release. How much, will I need to upgrade my PC in order to effectively play this game, to enjoy it in its current state? Because that's how Chris Roberts sees it. And he doesn't really, it doesn't seem to be critical to keep the ball rolling and accelerating. And that it takes as long as it takes, and there are going to be roadblocks, there's going to be setbacks. We should expect those. And we'll just kind of do the best to kind of meet our goals, even if they're a year out. So that was very eye-opening, and the reason why I wanted to make this video. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for indulging in my stream of consciousness. I hope that this video, even though it's kind of going onto the archives of YouTube and whatnot, that it doesn't lose its value as the years go by and people can understand where I was at the beginning of 2023 on this very last day. So thank you all for listening. If you wish to share your thoughts on this letter or this video, I would love to hear from you in the comments and have some discussions about any of these topics. Give a thumbs up if you feel the same way. Thumbs down if you just think I'm off my rocker. But thank you all. Happy New Year's to everyone. And stay shiny. Take care. Bye.